Hello, this is Nikki from Nikki's Scrapbooking Adventures. Today I'm going to do a layout share that I recently did with my counterfeit kit that I made using Pink Fresh and Felicity Jane as my base. I noticed that in both of those collections it was very pink oriented, very girly, had a lot of pink product. So I challenged myself to make a layout for a boy. The way I did that was I took the mood and feel of my photos here. They are of my friend who dropped off some presents for my little boy when he came home. So this is him playing with the balloon that came with the present. My journaling talks about how my friend Mary dropped off a cute package that contained some Avatar Last Airbender onesies and a balloon to welcome you home. She felt bad for leaving the gift so far after you'd come home. But once I showed you how to play with the balloons, you became absolutely enamored. How fun is that? Next to my journaling right here, I do have the date that the gift arrived instead of the date of the balloons, because part of my story is about how it arrived late. To start this layout, I picked my design and I used a sketch from Scrapbook Generations that is free. It's the Remember Me free sketch number 1. I like this sketch specifically because it features 3 sections of different pattern paper. In addition, with Scrapbook Generation sketches, they actually give you the measurements of each piece. So it talks about the journaling strips, it talks about the large strips. So I based my page on this sketch pretty heavily. You can see here I have the 3 sections, I've got the 3 photos, and I've got I switched where my journaling was, I switched where my title was, and I did end up making the banners, but I shifted them up a little bit. And on the side I have my embellishments going down the side in these balloons. So to start this layout, because it was so girly, I pulled these and I cut them at 1 inch. Okay, I just took a strip and I cut it. From there I made banners using my hexagon punch by just placing it in here after it was cut, right, and then notching it. So that's how my banners all look even with the same angle, because I used my punch to make them. I believe this is just the medium punch. If I were to do this over again, I would get the large, because the angles are still the same, but it fits wider paper, which is really nice. So from there, I picked and separated all of the boy colors, and these are the colors that I landed with, so these are the colors that I focused on. So I pulled the light blue and the dark green based on the banners that I had chosen. That was actually a really difficult part for me. Because this is so girly, I wanted to pull in the boy colors. And originally I just wasn't seeing those until I pulled and made my banners. The next step was to adhere. And I did end up making these blocks longer because I did want a margin around my photos. My photos are 3x4. However, I made my paper 9 1/4 so that I could have small margins around each photo. They do not feature margins in the sketch itself. The second step I did was to make these balloons. I knew because the story focused in on the balloons that he was playing with, I had to make balloons of my own. So I have this old punch from Family Treasures. I got it at a secondhand store. And so I made faux chipboard balloons. And then because I picked a title that was using my thickers that I had made, and it had some gloss on there, I chose to use diamond glaze on top of the balloons to give them the same vibe. So they are glossy as well, and they're thicker because I adhered multiple layers of the same cut to the original color. So underneath I actually used the front page of a paper pack that I had teared down because this is a little bit thicker than normal paper. It'll give it some more dimension. So then I used diamond glaze on this after I had adhered it with my best glue ever to a piece of wax paper. It really, really helps when you're using diamond glaze to adhere your cuts to wax paper so they don't move. I could have chosen to adhere the faux chipboard to the paper and then use diamond glaze. It would have been the same effect. However, I wanted to use this embroidery thread as the strings to the balloons to give it more of a 3D dimension. When I made this, I just took my string, I wrapped it around the bottom of the balloon, I made a little knot, okay, a little knot. I stuck the bottom of the balloon in there and I pulled tight, okay. And then the leftover string I glued to the back using the Tombow Mono Liquid Aqua. And then I used Tombow Mono again when I went to adhere the string down in the balloon. Now I could have chosen to use dimensional adhesive, but because this wasn't very long and I made sure that they laid flat, I was able to get away with just adhering it. The other thing I did here is I cut this short, so only a little bit of this string is actually underneath here, and it's a different piece of string for each balloon, so that I did not have to use the dimensional adhesive. I adhered these with Tombow Mono Liquid Aqua as well, just directly to the page, and then I used a tag to look as if this was floating with the tag on there. I used some stamps that I had in my stash to create that tag. I'm not very good at stamping, so I even used the We Are Memory Keepers precision stamping board, and it's still, for whatever reason, I can never get it to stamp softly, and it's wet because it's pigment, unfortunately, and I just smudged it. Great. That's okay. So I used a stamp for here, and then the from, and then I wrote in Mary, which is the person's name, with my Jelly Roll 10 Sakura pen. I really like it when I'm working on dark backgrounds. After I did these, I added my banners to it. I was debating on the placement of my title as well. So originally, I actually had it shifted over to the right, but then I noticed that the flow of my page was really right heavy, and I wanted it to not be because I have this banner here. So I chose a neutral position for my title to be in the middle there. I think the most important part of this layout was that I used a girly collection for a male layout, and I chose the colors that are associated more with boys to accomplish that. I did have a couple of cuts for the bow ties that I used a punch for originally when I worked with this collection previously, so I just had some extras because you just make more. You can see here were the cuts, so I had 3 of them. I figured I might as well bring in this blue somewhere else and somewhere else on this layout so it looks more cohesive. So my visual triangle is the blue welcome, the blue bow tie, and then this. When you originally make these bows, the little down parts are actually down, but that didn't work for this because it covered up my stamping here. So instead I just bent those to be flat across this, and this is pretty dimensional actually. I don't know if you can tell. Okay. So that is my boy layout using a girly collection. Please list if you have any questions below in the comments, and that is the 3rd page that I've done with this collection. Thank you.